Let me ask you something real. What if I told you there's one single shift, just one, that could make your ex lie awake at night, wondering why they ever let you go? No begging, no chasing, no emotional roller coasters, just one move that flips the entire script and leaves them questioning everything. Sounds impossible. It's not. In fact, it's backed by psychology. See, most people think making your ex regret losing you is about being colder, looking hotter, or making them jealous. But here's the thing, regret doesn't start with seeing you with someone else. It starts when they see you've changed in a way they didn't expect. When you become unreachable emotionally, not because you're bitter, but because you're better. As the legendary psychologist Carl Rogers once said, "The curious paradox is that when I accept myself just as I am, then I can change." That's the twist. Regret doesn't come from them watching you pretend. It comes from them seeing you evolve so authentically, they no longer recognize the version of you they once hurt. Think about it. Your ex knows the version of you that waited, cried, tried, and maybe even begged. But the moment you shift from that to someone calm, confident, and self-possessed, you become unfamiliar, mysterious, powerful. That's when their mind starts racing. Did I lose something irreplaceable? They won't say it out loud, but they'll feel it. And let's be honest, we've all had that one moment where we realized we lost someone good. Not because they changed, but because they finally stopped trying. That's exactly what this one move does. It forces your ex to face the truth. You no longer need them to find peace. And nothing stings more than knowing you were once needed. And now, you're not even considered. The science backs this up too. According to studies on regret and relationships, the deepest regret isn't about who people dated. It's about who they mishandled. The ones who got away, not because of a dramatic ending, but because they quietly outgrew the pain. As Buddha said, you only lose what you cling to. The moment you let go, you stop being the one hurting and become the one remembered. Now, here's the promise. By the end of this video, I'm going to give you one powerful psychology-backed move that will trigger that exact realization in your ex. And no, it's not about games. It's about grounding yourself so deeply in self-respect, they can't help but feel the loss. So, if you're ready to stop feeling like the rejected and start becoming the one that got away, stay with me. Watch this all the way through. You'll walk away with clarity, control, and a calm that shakes them to their core. Like this video, hit that subscribe button, and drop this mantra in the comments. I don't chase, I evolve. Say it, mean it, live it. Let's dive in. Key point 1. Shift your energy inward, not outward. Let's get real. After a breakup, your mind is wired to obsess about them. What they're doing, who they're with, whether they're thinking about you, it's normal. But here's the problem. The more your thoughts revolve around your ex, the more power you're giving them. And the hard truth is this: they don't feel your absence if your energy is still chasing them emotionally. So what's the move? You shift that energy inward. You stop performing for their attention and start showing up for yourself. It's not just moving on, it's a conscious, powerful reroute. Instead of trying to get back into their head, you reclaim your own. That's when real change begins. And that's what makes them start to feel your absence on a deeper level. Psychologists refer to this as emotional detachment, not in the cold, heartless way, but in the way that allows your nervous system to reset, your perspective to clear, and your sense of self to rebuild. It's literally giving your brain a break from obsessing and allowing your self-worth to take the wheel again. Here's the twist. When you stop trying to impress your ex and start becoming so focused on your growth, you enter what psychology calls the self-expansion phase. That means you're no longer tied to your identity as their partner. You're discovering new interests, new passions, even new people. And that energy? It's magnetic. It sends a silent but powerful message. I'm not stuck, I'm rising. As Beyoncé once said, the most alluring thing a woman can have is confidence. And it's true for anyone. Confidence that isn't faked, but rebuilt through action. When your ex sees that you're living, not waiting, building, not breaking, they start to wonder, did I underestimate them? Let's be clear. Shifting your energy inward isn't about pretending. It's about becoming. You start hitting the gym, not for revenge, but for vitality. You start reading, traveling, learning, growing, not to prove anything, but because you realize your world is so much bigger than one relationship. And here's what most people don't expect. Your ex will feel it, even if you don't say a word, even if they're not watching your stories or liking your posts. People can sense when someone has evolved beyond the version they used to know. It disrupts their ego. It makes them question everything, because when they see that they're no longer the center of your emotional universe, it stings, especially if they thought you'd never stop chasing. The silence becomes louder. Your absence becomes undeniable. And that's the exact moment where regret begins to bloom. So don't waste your energy trying to make them regret it. Use that energy to rebuild your foundation, because the stronger you become, the more obvious their mistake becomes, and you won't even have to say a word. Key point 2. Rebuild your identity without them. After a breakup, especially one that hits hard, it's easy to forget who you were before the relationship, and even harder to imagine who you can become after it. That's why the second step in making your ex regret losing you is to rebuild your identity without them in it. This is not about creating a fake persona or trying to prove a point. It's about becoming so grounded in who you are becoming that the past version of you no longer fits. Not even for them. Here's the truth. Your ex knew the version of you that existed within the relationship dynamic. They knew your habits, your flaws, your vulnerabilities. But once that version ends and you start evolving, they're no longer familiar with who you are. And guess what? That unfamiliarity creates curiosity and eventually regret. Psychologist Erik Erikson described identity as something we're always developing, especially after major life transitions. A breakup is one of the biggest emotional transitions you can go through. So instead of trying to get back to the old you, this is your opportunity to create the next level you, the version that doesn't just recover from pain, but transforms because of it. You start redefining your values. You explore your passions again, maybe things you abandoned for the relationship. You show up differently in the world, calmer, wiser, less reactive. You move in silence, but with purpose. Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "No one can make you feel inferior without your consent." That's what this phase is about, removing their access to your emotional validation. When your ex can no longer predict how you'll react or assume that you're still the same person they left behind, It shakes their certainty. That's when the self-doubt kicks in on their side. That's when the regret starts growing. You might start dressing differently, not for them, but because you're stepping into a new identity. You may change routines, friends, career paths, because you're choosing your future without trying to cling to your past. And over time, this new identity becomes undeniable. It radiates in everything you do, and whether they admit it or not, they'll feel it. The version of you they walked away from is no longer there. The version of you now, they don't know how to access that person. And that, more than any message or post, makes them feel the weight of what they lost. So if step 1 was shifting your energy inward, step 2 is redefining the person that energy is building. This is your rebirth. You're not chasing validation, you're becoming unforgettable. Next, we'll talk about how to use silence and emotional distance in a way that doesn't feel like a game, but a statement. One they can't ignore. Want to keep going? Key point 3. Use silence as a statement, not a strategy. By now, you've shifted your energy inward. You've started rebuilding your identity without them. But here's where it gets really powerful. You stop explaining yourself. You stop reacting. You go silent. And not because you're trying to manipulate them, but because you're finally choosing peace over performance. Most people think silence is a passive move, that it's just about ignoring them or playing hard to get. But real silence, the kind that makes your ex sit with their thoughts, is intentional. It's rooted in power, not pettiness. You're not doing it to make them miss you. You're doing it because you no longer need their validation to feel seen. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. In this context, silence gives you space to listen to yourself, instead of constantly reacting to them. You're not just withdrawing your words, you're withdrawing your emotional availability. And that's when they start to feel it. Your ex might try to provoke a reaction. They might test you, post things designed to get under your skin, even message you casually just to see if you'll bite. But when they're met with silence, true, confident silence, it sends a clear message. I'm no longer accessible like I used to be. And that shift, it shakes them. Psychologically, this taps into what's called the Zeigarnik effect, our brain's tendency to fixate on unfinished emotional experiences. When they don't get closure, when they don't get that last word from you, their mind replays the breakup like an unsolved puzzle. It gnaws at them. They may not show it, but inside, they're spiraling. Silence also gives you space to fully detach emotionally. It's the disconnect that breeds clarity. While they're wondering what you're thinking, you're focused on healing. While they're hoping for a reaction, you're busy becoming unreachable, not out of spite, but out of strength. So no, this isn't the kind of silence that waits for them to come crawling back. This is the kind of silence that says, I don't chase, I choose me. That's a powerful statement, and one most people never have the discipline to make. And when you master this, their ego, their pride, and their assumptions all take a hit. Because the person they thought they could walk away from no longer waits at the door. Next, we'll dive into how to rebuild attraction energetically, without a single word. It's all about your presence, your energy, and how it speaks louder than anything you could say. Let me know if you're ready to continue. A key point 4, rebuild attraction through energy, not words you've pulled back. You're silent. You're becoming someone new. Now comes the part that really flips the script. You start rebuilding attraction, not by trying to convince them, but by radiating a new kind of energy. And here's the twist. You don't need to say anything to be felt. Attraction isn't just physical, it's energetic. It's the way you carry yourself when no one's watching. It's the vibe that follows you into a room. It's the calm confidence that makes people lean in, even when you haven't spoken a word. When your ex begins to sense this change, whether through mutual friends, social media, or even pure intuition, they feel the shift before they can explain it. Psychologist Albert Mehrabian found that 93% of communication is non-verbal. That means tone, body language, presence, and even silence convey more than words ever will. So while most people rush to send a clever message or post the perfect selfie to get their ex's attention, you are different. You build your glow from within. It's not about seeking validation, it's about becoming magnetic. This is where emotional stability becomes irresistible. You're not out here ranting online, throwing shade, or over-explaining your growth. Instead, your calmness, clarity, and focus on your own life do all the talking. That's rare, and people notice rare, especially someone who once thought they had access to every part of you. You'll notice something wild happens at this stage. Other people start to gravitate toward you. New connections, new opportunities, new energy. You become someone who's not just attractive to your ex again, but to the world. That's the moment your ex realizes they're not just healing, they're leveling up. And that realization, it burns, because now you're not the same person they left. You're stronger, softer in the right ways, sharper in others. They don't know how to approach you anymore, and that's where attraction rebuilds. Not from them having easy access, but from them having to earn their way back into your life, if they even can. As Dr. Joe Dispenza says, when you change your energy, you change your life. That's not just some spiritual quote, it's neuroscience. People feel your shift before they hear about it. And when your ex feels your new energy, they start questioning everything. The way they left, what they lost, and whether they still have a place in your life. So no, you don't chase. You attract. Not with performance, but with presence. And this kind of presence, it can't be faked. It's earned through real inner work. And it's what sets you apart from every other person they thought they could replace you with. Next, we'll get into what happens when they finally start to reach out again, and exactly how you should respond to keep the upper hand without playing games. Ready to move forward? A key point 5. Respond with emotional control, not old patterns. Eventually, if you've done the inner work, focused on yourself, stayed silent, shifted your energy, your ex will reach out. It might be subtle at first. How have you been? A reaction to your story, or a completely random message that pretends to be casual. But let's be honest, it's not random, it's a test. And your response in this moment will define everything that happens next. Here's what most people get wrong. They take the bait and immediately fall back into the old dynamic. They get excited, over-explain, or start emotionally over-investing again. That's natural. It's tempting. But the truth is, if you react the way you used to, your ex will know nothing has really changed. And the power? Gone. This is where emotional control becomes your secret weapon. You don't have to be cold. You don't have to be rude. But you do have to be intentional. Your energy should say, I'm open to connection. but I no longer depend on it. That's the kind of calm confidence that's unforgettable. As Viktor Frankl wrote, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. That space, that pause, that's where your growth lives. You're no longer reacting from emotional survival, you're responding from emotional strength. And don't be surprised if your ex gets confused by the new you. They'll sense your shift. They may even push harder, trying to provoke the old version of you. That's okay. Let them feel that contrast. Because every time you respond with clarity, poise, and calm boundaries, you reinforce the message. I'm not who you left. I'm who I was meant to become. Psychologically, this creates what's called cognitive dissonance. Your ex expects one reaction and gets another, which makes them question their assumptions and re-evaluate their decision. That's the spark that turns curiosity into regret. So when they reach out, don't chase, don't spill your heart, don't reopen every emotional door. Instead, engage lightly, if you choose to, but maintain your position. You're no longer in the same emotional arena. You're playing a different game now. And that's what makes them realize. They're not just trying to reconnect with you. They're trying to reach a version of you they no longer have access to. Coming up next, how to hold the line if they start love bombing or trying to get back into your life quickly. Because there's a difference between a return out of guilt and a return rooted in real respect. Let me know if you're ready to keep building this momentum. Key point 6. Don't fall for the fast return. Make them earn it. Once your ex realizes you're no longer reacting like you used to, their curiosity will turn into urgency. That's when they start rushing back in. Sudden compliments, deep messages. Maybe even late-night calls confessing they never stopped loving you. And while it might sound sweet, here's what you need to understand. Fast returns are often driven by fear, not love. They're not necessarily coming back because they fully processed what went wrong. They're coming back because the version of you that was always emotionally available is gone. And now they're scrambling to get that security back. But if you let them back in too quickly, you undo all the work you've done. You send the message, "You didn't really lose me. I was just waiting." As Dr. Ramani, a psychologist who specializes in narcissistic dynamics, says, when someone loses access to your emotional supply, they panic, not because they love you, but because they're losing control. That panic can feel like love, but true regret and change take time, reflection and effort, not a few sweet texts. This is why discernment is everything. Don't confuse emotional intensity with emotional integrity. When they start love bombing or saying all the right things, pause, take a breath, ask yourself, is this consistent? Is this backed by changed behavior? Or is this just a reaction to my silence and strength? You're not trying to punish them. You're protecting the version of you that's grown. If they really regret losing you, they'll show it in consistent action. They'll respect your boundaries. They won't pressure or guilt you into rushing. They'll take the slow road because they understand now that you're not someone they can just get back. Letting them earn it means having standards, not walls. It means allowing them to re-enter your life only if they're aligned with the new, elevated version of you. If they're only there to soothe their own discomfort, the connection won't last. But if they're there because they see your value and are willing to rise to meet it, that's when something real can begin. So when the messages come in, the calls get more frequent, and the "I miss yous" start showing up. Hold your line. Let their actions, not their emotions, prove whether they truly regret losing you, or if they just regret no longer having access to you. Next up, the final key. How to decide if you want them back at all, or if the real win is realizing you've outgrown them completely. Let's finish strong. Key point 7. Decide if you even want them back anymore. Here's the most empowering part of the entire process. The part most people don't expect. You might not even want them back anymore. And that realization, that's not bitterness, that's growth. When you've done the work, when you've shifted your energy inward, rebuilt your identity, held your boundaries, and maintained emotional control, something incredible happens. You stop viewing them as the prize. You begin to see them clearly, not through the lens of loneliness, but through the lens of wisdom. And often, what you see isn't what you thought you lost. It's what you outgrew. As Oprah Winfrey once said, you become what you believe. You are where you are today in your life, based on everything you have believed. And if you've started believing that you're worthy of peace, emotional maturity, and depth, you'll naturally start questioning if your ex can truly meet you there. It's no longer about whether they want to come back. It's about whether they deserve a seat at your new table. Do they bring the same level of self-awareness and emotional responsibility that you've worked so hard to build? Or are they just hoping to revisit the comfort of a past version of you that no longer exists? This is where your power becomes undeniable, because now you get to choose. Not from a place of pain or desperation, but from a place of alignment. You've done what most people never do. You've evolved. And when you reach that place, you realize sometimes the biggest win isn't getting them back. It's realizing you don't need them anymore. If they have grown, if they've done the inner work too, then maybe there's something worth exploring again. But if they're only returning out of regret, loneliness, or habit, then walking away is no longer a loss. It's a declaration of self-worth. The regret they feel at this stage is deep, not just because they lost you, but because they lost the chance to grow with you. And once you've reached this level of clarity, they know getting you back is no longer in their control. So, as we close out this video, remember this. You are not just healing. You are evolving. You are becoming someone who doesn't need to chase love because you've built it within. And from that place, you don't settle for being remembered. You become unforgettable. If this journey resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop this in the comments. I choose me first. Let that be your mantra, your standard, your starting point for every relationship from here on out. You've done the work. Now it's time to live in the reward. Let's be honest, breakups hurt. But staying broken, that's a choice. And today, you've just taken a powerful step in the opposite direction. You didn't come here to chase someone who couldn't see your worth. You came here to reclaim it. We've walked through the psychology. We've exposed the patterns. And now you know the truth. Making your ex regret losing you isn't about playing games or pretending you're over it. It's about becoming so secure in yourself that their absence no longer defines you. You do. As Rumi said, try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. You are not here to be the old version of yourself begging for crumbs. You're here to evolve, to expand, and to embody your power so fully that the past can't even recognize you. Your ex might come back, they might not. But either way, you've already won, because you've taken the pain and turned it into purpose. You've stopped chasing and started choosing. You've stopped needing and started becoming. If this video spoke to you, don't just scroll past it. Like it. Subscribe. Share it with someone who needs this message. Let's grow together. Let's keep rising. And in the comments below, I want you to type it loud. Type it proud. I choose me first. Let it be a declaration. Let it be a promise. And most importantly, let it be the new standard. Thank you for watching. Your comeback. It starts now.